In this video, I'm going to show you some of the ways to place holes in an Inventor part model. I already have my model, simple model that I've extruded, and that was from an earlier video that I made. So now let's say I want to put a hole in this top surface. Probably the easiest way to do that is to make sure that the 3D model tab is open and simply pick on the hole tool right here on the ribbon. Then just come onto the surface where you want the hole to appear. So if I come up here and hover over the top surface and just pick, Inventor will start to build a hole right there. Now, if I want just a regular hole, I'm going to pick this top solution right up here. This is just what Inventor calls a drilled hole. I have other options. I have a counterbored hole, I have a spot-faced hole, and I have a countersink hole that I can put in there. But I want to show you something. When I placed that hole, I did not tell Inventor how far I wanted to place it from an edge, which is normally something you want to do. You want to say where the center is along an XY axis. And so here's what we do. I'm going to cancel out this and just start it again. I'm going to pick on hole. I'm going to come onto the surface and just pick and place a hole. At this point, I don't know what the diameter is going to be until I look right up here. And I can see that Inventor in this case is defaulted to 0.5. So I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to type 0.375. And you can see that the diameter of the hole changed. In this dimension, I have the depth of the hole. And as long as in termination I have a distance, I've chosen distance, I can type in a depth. If I want the hole to go all the way through though, just pick on the down arrow and pick through all. And then the hole will go all the way through the part. But now let's locate the center of the hole. When you pick on reference 1 and you pick on this pick point right here, it wants you to pick an edge. And as soon as you pick an edge, you're going to get a dimension between this edge and the center of the hole. In this case, it's telling me that's 0.512. So I'm going to highlight that and type 0.5. And then you would think you would want to enter, but you don't. If you enter, it's going to mess up. So what you want to do is you just want to go, you'll notice that since I've already done reference 1, as soon as I type this in, it switched over to reference 2. So in this case, I'm going to pick at this corner, and it's going to put in this dimension right here, which I'm going to type 1.5. And now I've located the center. I still haven't pressed enter. That's the key here. Don't press enter or you'll terminate the command. Alright, so we have a hole that has a diameter of 0.375. Its termination is through all, and it is located from reference 1, which is this edge, 0.5, and from reference 2, which was this edge, 1.5. If you need to change that, you can always just come in here and double click on either of those, and if you want to make that 1.75 for example, it'll update automatically. Alright, so that's just your plain drilled hole. If you need that hole to be threaded, you have an option right here. Just pick on this radio button right there. It'll take a second. For some reason it's giving me a little hard time here. There it goes. And you can see when I pick on the threaded option here that I get some additional information that I can provide. So the hole's I'd already set the hole to be 0.375, and so as far as a thread note, it builds off that 0.375, which converts to 3/8, and I have the option for 3/8-16 UNC, 3/8-24 UNF, Unified National Fine, and so on like that. So I'm just going to stick with the 3/8-16 UNC. And you'll notice also that it's not threaded all the way, and if I want it to be threaded all the way through, I just need to check the full depth option right here, and then I can pick up OK. Alright, now if I take that and I kind of spin it around, and you can see. Now one thing about thread in Inventor is that it does not really create a three-dimensional thread. It applies actually an image. I believe it's a bitmap image that it applies in there. So if you were going to send this to a 3D printer, it would not result in a 3D thread being created. You would actually want to use some sort of a helix construction and actually remove a spiral shape from that to create the thread. But for drawing purposes, this works fine. I'm going to press escape and get out of that. All right. So that's one way to place a hole. Now let's talk about different types of holes. If we go to the hole tool again and just pick on this surface that we have right here, and this time I want to pick on a counter bored hole. I'm going to pick right here. You can see that I get a lot more options for dimensions, and one is the diameter of the counterboard. That's the first one that we see right here. Now that's defaulting to 0.75, so that's fine. I'll just leave that at 0.75. The next one is for the depth of the counterbore, and you can see the arrows sort of indicate that it's the depth, and that's defaulting to 0.125. And as far as the distance of the entire thing, I can just go through all. And if I uncheck the tapped hole or the threaded hole option, should be able to just actually want to click on this for the through hole. Alright, so at that point it's going to build that counterbored hole. The thing I haven't done is locate where the center of that hole is. So if I pick on the arrow for reference 1 and I choose on this side right here, it really doesn't matter which side I choose. It'll work from either side, but I want to go from the sketch that the designer's given me. If I pick right there, you can see I'm at 0.496. I'm going to change that to 0.5. As soon as I do that, it drops down and it's looking for the next reference edge, so I can pick here, and on this one let's set this to 0.875 and pick OK. And so there's my counterbored hole. So I have a threaded hole now, excuse me, and a counterbored hole. Alright, so let's place another type of hole called a countersink or a countersunk hole. I'm going to pick on the hole command. I'm just going to pick a point, and this time I'm going to choose the option here, which is for countersink. And on this one, the first thing it asks me is what is the diameter at the top edge of the countersunk part of the hole. Alright, so it's defaulting to 0.75, so I'll just keep that. Then it asks for the angle, and 82 degrees is a standard countersink angle. There are some others, but it will go by whatever the specification is on the sketch you're working from. And then you have the diameter of the through hole that goes the rest of the way through, which in this case is 0.375. And so again, I need to locate the center of that, so it's asking me for the first reference. If I choose at this end and type 0.5, and then it drops down and I pick on this side and type 0.5, then I can locate that, and at that point I'll just pick OK, and let's zoom in a little bit on this guy, and you can see that this countersunk hole, it has sloping sides at 82 degrees. Now that's the entire angle across there. So I have a counterbore, I have just a regular drilled hole that's been threaded, and then I have a countersunk hole. Now I'm going to come back to my home view. Remember, that's the little house symbol right up here. I'm going to press escape to get out of my orbit command. Okay, so let's look at another option. I'm going to pick on the hole tool. We have this option right here, which is a spot face hole. Now what a spot face hole really is it's just usually a very shallow counterbore that's used a lot of times on cast iron surfaces and things that are kind of a rough surface to just create a slight smoother depression for where, let's say, a washer or bolt head is not just up against a rough surface. So really a spot face is just generally a very shallow counterbore, and so you could use the countersunk or the counterbore tool to make that if you wanted to. Alright, So I'm going to cancel out of this. Now let's say that I need to come in here and make a change to some of the sizes or diameters of this. I want to go over and point out to you in the browser that I have hole 1, hole 2, and hole 3. And so this was hole 1, this was hole 2, and this was hole 3. That was the order they were created in. By right-clicking on one of them and saying Edit Feature, it reopens the hole tool, and we could come in here and let's say that we want to make the diameter of the counter bore 0.875, and we can just pick OK, and we can do that. So whenever you need to make edits to this, you can just go over here to the browser and just right click on any of those, and because a hole is a feature, you just choose Edit Feature. Now let me show you probably the worst way to make a hole. That it would be to pick on a surface and start a new sketch, and then go to the circle command and draw a circle, and then put a dimension on the circle saying what its diameter is. Let's say it's 0.25, and then dimensioning from the edge to the center and the edge of the center to locate it, and then in the end though using the extrusion command, the extrude command, and picking on that and choosing the cut option, and for the distance you can say through all and pick OK. Now why is that not a good idea compared to these other guys? Well, because now when I need to edit this, if I have to edit that as a hole, when I go over here, it's not a hole, it's just an extrusion. It's a cut extrusion. So in order to edit it, I have to go all the way back to editing the sketch, changing the diameter on the sketch, and all those sorts of things. Where if I create my holes with the hole command, I simply right click on there, go to Edit Feature, and then I have all the options that I need. I can turn the hole into a threaded hole, a counter bore, a countersunk. I can do all kinds of things. So I strongly recommend not making holes as extruded circles where you're just cutting out the extrusion. So that's the hole command. Those are some of the options. And oh, one other thing I should show you though. We have an option when we pick on a new surface and we start a new sketch like this, excuse me, to place a point. So when you place a point, it's like placing the center point for where you might want a hole. So I'm just going to pick a point, and then I'm going to press Escape. So you can see there's a point there, and I can actually dimension from an edge to that point and place a dimension there. Let's say I want to set that at 0.25. And then I can place another dimension from, let's say, this edge to that point right there, and come out here and place that. And let's place that at 1 and press Enter. And then we go to Finish Sketch. Alright, so what we've done is we've placed a point center point. And when you place a point center point, if you'll go and pick on the hole tool, Inventor will automatically assume that that point center point that you placed in your sketch is going to be turned into a hole. Alright, so I'm going to make that a 0.125 hole and pick OK. So you can see now I have the 3 holes that I made originally. I have the extrusion for this hole, which is not a good idea, and then I have hole number 4 over here, which I can right click on. And because I made it, even though I used point center point, I finished it off using the hole command. I can always go to Edit Feature and come back in here and make my edits just like it's a regular hole.